My name is Catriona, I'm 63 years old and I live in the south side of Glasgow with my elderly mother. I was married for 23 years, been divorced now for 8 years and I'm currently single, but trying to figure out how online dating works without much success. I've lived in Glasgow for most of my life, a few short spells down south in different parts of London with my ex-husband as we moved around for his work. With no kids, it was easier for us to commit to big changes, and I was always able to find part-time work and volunteer somewhere too. I've always loved volunteering. To be part of something important, to belong to a group of people making a difference, helping and understanding others. I often think volunteering would go a long way to solving some of the world's biggest and most serious problems. If we all looked out for one another, regardless of our different beliefs, surely we'd be able to unite. A few years ago, my mother was medically diagnosed with late onset Alzheimer's. It was crushing, but not unexpected. My father passed away in 2016 and she hasn't been the same since. 54 years they were married, with each year bringing the same old jokes and stories, but new blessings and new smiles. For most of my life, ever since I moved out, I have phoned my mum at least once a day. Sometimes there would be something important, but mostly it was just to check in with her and hear her warm, reassuring voice, helping me through the bad days and reminding me to enjoy the good ones. My nana, my mum's mum, always used to tell me, "Your mum is the best friend you'll ever have," and she was right. After she was diagnosed, I moved in. She couldn't live on her own any longer and I wanted to look after her. At that time, I was working part-time for a family-owned bakery and loving it. They've been so kind and they've kept me on, even though I can only do 2 half days a week now. I feel I'm incredibly fortunate that I don't need to work full-time. I've got no idea how someone can be a carer for a relative and work full-time, even with assistance. It's so emotionally, mentally and physically draining. My heart goes out to them. The level of help for carers, both family and professional, has to keep increasing. As we continue to live longer and grow older, we need to be able to fully support the problems this can lead to. As my mum's condition has deteriorated, I've had to do more for her. I almost have to live her life for her. It's reached a point where it must seem, to outsiders, as if I'm the mother and she's the daughter. I never got to experience the happiness of having children, but I imagine it's nothing like this. With their mistakes comes growth, understanding and joy at their development. With my mum, mistakes become a normal, regular part of the day and lead only to more serious, debilitating problems. I try to wake my mum up around 8 a.m, though there are times when she tries to get up herself. This is something she's begun to do over the last month. She might try to get up around 4 a.m. or 6 a.m, the time varies, and I have to wake up and try and convince her that it's too early for her to get up and that she needs to go back to bed. After waking her up at 8 a.m, I help her to get out of bed, get her clothes on, and then quickly make the bed so it's easy for her to get back into when she's going to sleep. My mum cannot make it to the bathroom during the night, so she has a commode in her room, which I have to empty each morning. To do all of this usually takes around 30 minutes. Half an hour of trying my absolute best to remain patient and repeat what I'm saying to her to get her ready to go downstairs. At the moment, my mum is still able to get up and down the stairs at the beginning and end of the day despite her poor mobility. I have to supervise her if she goes up and down in case she falls and hurts herself. Once she's downstairs, she's only interested in sitting in her chair in the living room. I have to remind her to go to the bathroom, to wash herself and brush her teeth. I leave wipes, a comb and toothpaste on her toothbrush. I normally stay with her to make sure she actually does wash and tidy herself up. I really struggle seeing this side of my mum. She was always an obsessively clean person, annoyingly so. Now she just doesn't care. I think my insistence on her doing this is what she would have wanted. She wouldn't have wanted to let herself go. She was a proud woman. Again, after coming out the bathroom, she's only interested in one thing, sitting in her chair. I have to tell her that she needs to have breakfast and take her pills. I help her make her breakfast and leave her pills out for her, so she definitely takes them. She sometimes looks straight through me as if I'm no longer her daughter, but the woman who looks after her, who makes her do the things she cannot be bothered doing. I know Alzheimer's can destroy the person who has it. I know it can remove their ability to engage socially, to pick up on cues, to be even a fraction of who they once were. But I'm struggling so much to see my mum as a woman I care for, and not my mum, the woman who cared for me and now needs caring for. After begrudgingly eating breakfast, my mum will then go in and sit in her chair in the living room. She doesn't want to do anything anymore, so I switch the television on for her and she sits and stares at the screen, only rising to go to the toilet and back. I get on with cleaning the house, checking in on her occasionally and always listen in case she falls. Thankfully she's never hurt herself after falling. It's as if she doesn't try to stop herself, doesn't put her hands out, as if she's resigned to sink into the ground, and so doesn't do any serious damage to herself. I make her lunch for her and do the dishes. She often doesn't even acknowledge it or say thank you. She just goes back through and sits in the living room again. If I'm not working, then I usually have a few hours to myself in the afternoon. The longest I can comfortably leave my mum on her own is 3 hours. Otherwise, I have to arrange for a friend of my mum's or one of my cousins to pop in and check on her. I don't like having to say to them, so I will typically only do this for the 2 days when I'm working. I have to get out though, even if it's only for a couple of hours. If I'm stuck in, then my mental health starts to decline and I'm not in the right state of mind to do what needs to be done for my mother. When I get back in, I have to check the toilet to make sure my mum hasn't made a mess. If she has, then I need to clean that up. I then begin preparing dinner and we eat that together at the table. My mum doesn't say anything while she eats. If I attempt to make conversation, she might answer me, but it never evolves into a two-way conversation. It makes me feel very lonely, and I start to think how alone she must be too, and that just intensifies my own loneliness, as I know I can't reach her and she can't reach me. I do the dishes again and join my mum in the living room in the evening. When I first moved in, we would watch programmes together, just some of the talent shows or a bit of reality television, but now she just stares when they're on. She doesn't react to anything at all. Sometimes I find myself watching her rather than the television, and thinking back to when we'd watch them together. An act on the talent show would be terrible, and she'd turn and say to me that they were shite, and as daft as it sounds, as annoying as it was at the time. I miss that. At 9 p.m, I tell my mum that it's time for bed. She uses the toilet one last time, and I make sure she gets upstairs safely. I help her get changed into a nightdress and into the bed. I wait to make sure she's settled, and then I head back downstairs. I keep the television volume low so I can hear her in case she tries to get up and comes back downstairs. Eventually, after a period of quietness, I can relax for a little bit. By this point, I'm usually exhausted, and I don't have the energy or focus to watch a good film or read a good book, so I'll flick through the channels or put something silly on Netflix and be ready for bed myself soon after 10. It's difficult to settle into proper sleep as I'm in a constant state of alert in case my mum tries to get up and go downstairs in the dark or falls in her room. In both scenarios, I have to quickly get up and deal with it, so I usually sleep with one ear open. For the last few months now, I would say it's been a really good night if I manage to get 6 hours sleep. Frequently it's less than that, and I'm never too sure how much it is actually good sleep. Caring for my mum in her home also impacts my social life. I don't feel comfortable inviting friends to the house. It doesn't feel right to have them sitting in the living room while my mother is there, not interested in the slightest in her company. I can't relax and enjoy myself. It's also very difficult to go to a friend's house or to go out for dinner because I would need to arrange for someone to check in on my mum. I feel bad taking friends up on their invites without being able to reciprocate, so I tend to suggest to them that we catch up somewhere public during the day when I get those precious few hours to myself. And perhaps it's selfish, but I don't want my friends, new and old, to see my mother the way she is now. I want her to be remembered as the caring, helpful, proud woman she was. I know that there are those who will instinctively suggest I put her into a home. I have thought about it. I still think about it. I feel very strongly that you cannot judge someone and their decisions until you've been in their position. For me, I'm not quite ready yet to have her say goodbye to her home. I'm really pleased to have the chance to talk about my situation with my mother. There are plenty of others going through similar and worse, and I hope by sharing my thoughts it will show the need to give each other support and love as we try our best to look after our poorly loved ones. As for the future, I'm trying to stay positive and I'm hoping to start volunteering again soon. It's been a few years since I have. There are lots of amazing causes out there, and I know this is going to sound cheesy, but I'm going for it anyway. Hopefully, I can help make the world a better place, step by step. The more of us join, the better it can be. Thank you.